Welcome to the explanatory video on how to use the template. This template consists of 5 main sections: the base sheet of variables, which can be seen on the screen, the exercise base sheet, the series of sheets assigned to each microcycle, from M1 to M12, the panel sheet, and the monitoring sheet. Starting with the base variables, this is the only independent sheet, and the values filled in each section will be transferred by formulas to each of the following tabs. In the first table, we have the intensity section. It consists of the columns for RIR, stress index, effective sets, and effective repetitions. As you can see, there are blank rows, so you can enter values that you need and consider relevant to program all your routines. Likewise, you can delete some values that you consider you won't use. In the following columns are the values assigned to each. This means that for an RIR of 4, a stress index of 0.6 is assigned, 1 effective set, and 1 effective repetition. If you consider that these values need to be changed, you can do so freely. In this same table, changing these values won't affect the tracking of your client's training. However, it will affect the panel, where you will review the complete data and totals by muscle groups that have been programmed. For example, if you have assigned only 1 exercise for the chest with 2 sets, the stress index will show 2, with a total of 2 effective sets and 6 effective repetitions. We will see this in more detail later. Moving on to the difficulty table, it consists of 2 columns: difficulty and the factor. We have set the default difficulty levels, low, medium, and high, and assigned them factors of 0.8, 1, and 1.2. These factors are multiplied by the intensity values, and if you need more detail to visualize the formula we have used, please refer to the manual that was also provided with the template. Next, we have the columns for rep range and rest. These values will be visible to your clients, so we recommend entering the values you commonly use to automate your processes. For example, I can use a rep range of 7 to 9. This means I can enter it in the same table under the blank values, and it will update in all the drop-down boxes and formulas in the following sheets. The same applies to rest periods. Moving on, we have a series of 3 tables that show the RPE, readiness and recovery. These are pre-workout and post-workout values. RPE is a post-workout value, and ROI, like recovery, are pre-workout values. In each table, you can adjust the ranges you want to use to measure these variables. For example, if I want to measure the readiness, not from 1 to 5, but from 1 to 10, I would enter the following values, and they will update in all the drop-down lists in the sheet. In the meaning column, I would have to interpret all the values again and communicate them to my clients, so they can make the necessary adjustments. Moving on to the second to last table, we have the checklist section. All the values in this will be displayed in a drop-down list next to each exercise. Therefore, we recommend that you evaluate all potential issues that might arise when your clients perform an exercise. By default, we have included 3 values: I didn't like the exercise, I used another machine, or I felt uncomfortable. Finally, in the muscle group table, we have included all the muscle groups that can be programmed in the template. If you want to modify these muscle groups, you can enter them in the blank cells, or delete some values and consolidate them in the same table. Nonetheless, we offer a more in-depth explanation in the manual, which was also provided with the template, so please review it. Moving on to the next sheet, the exercise-based sheet, it displays the main table of the entire database of exercises that you can program. This table contains approximately 600 exercises, and they are divided mainly by the muscle group found in column A. Then in column B, a secondary muscle group is indicated. This is taken into account for compound exercises, where another muscle group is also involved. As an example, we show row number 130, where the primary muscle group is the quadriceps, but there is also a secondary muscle group, the adductors. Continuing with column C, this corresponds to the factor assigned to the secondary muscle. This factor will multiply the effective sets, effective repetitions, and the stress index of the primary muscle by the assigned factor. For example, in this case, the primary muscle group is the quadriceps, and the secondary muscle group is the adductors, with a factor of 0.5. If we have programmed 2 effective sets for this exercise, the adductors will have 1 effective set since we multiplied 2 by 0.5. For more details on the calculation formula, please refer to the manual provided with the template. Continuing with the explanation, in column D we have the name of the exercise, in column E the difficulty assigned to the exercise, and in column F the factor assigned based on difficulty. These two values are pulled from the base variables sheet and can be modified by you in that sheet. Let's take an example. I want to consider a really high difficulty and assign it a factor of 1.4. Once this has been updated in the base variables for difficulty, I can go to the exercise base and make the necessary modifications. Continuing with the columns, we have the rep and rest section. Here are all the values that you will modify in the base of variables. In the column, the recommended warm-up sets for each exercise are detailed. In column J, you can view the exercise link. You can adjust the quality, increase the screen size. Here you will find the videos for each exercise. At the bottom, you can adjust the quality settings. Finally, in column K, we have the preset keys for each exercise. It is important to note that all values in this database can be modified. This means that if you want to change the names of the exercises, the muscle groups involved, the factors, difficulties, reps, rest periods, and all the values, you can do so freely. All of this will update when programming. For this reason, it's important to thoroughly review the entire exercise database and identify the exercises you use most frequently, making the necessary adjustments so that the programming process is much faster. Additionally, you can use the filters for each title to search more quickly. Finally, we believe that this database should be edited by you according to your methodology. This means you can create a unique database. Therefore, when sharing each routine, it's important to protect this sheet. To protect it, click on Data at the top and then click on Protect Sheets and Ranges. Then go to the Sheet section and click on Configure Permissions. There, you will indicate that only you will have access to modify this base, and then click Done. Finally, to share the base. To share each template, we also recommend hiding the variables sheet and the exercise base. This is so as not to provide additional information to your clients, allowing them only to view the sheets they need to track. To hide a sheet, just right-click on each sheet and select Hide. Moving on to the third section, we have the microcycle sheets. On the left, we have the Argo logo. If you need to change it to your logo, feel free to delete it and add your own. Then, in the top table, we have the relevant and general information of the microcycle. In this section, you can change the name and distribute it by week. You can also enter the steps, cardio, and minutes. Imagine, for example, that we want to program a full-body microcycle of 3 days a week, where the client will complete 5,000 steps each day, and after each session, we'll have 15 minutes of cycling cardio. On the right side, we have a section for modifying the microcycle. Here you can add all the relevant notes or updates you make for each microcycle. Then we have the general session table, where the top will display the session number and the pre-training variables concerning recovery and the readiness. These ranges were shown in the base variables. If you have modified the ranges, they will appear here. For physical activity before the gym, we believe these are important values when programming routines. Then the session information will be displayed in columns, starting with muscles, followed by notes, the video link, the exercise keys, the exercise name, repetitions, rest, warm-up sets, and effective sets. Finally, the checklist for completing the exercises will begin with the muscle group you want to program. In this case, we will start with the quadriceps and then move on to the pendular squat. As you can see, the data automatically fills in and is pulled from the base exercises. If you have modified these values for the pendular squat, they will automatically update. In this section, these cells contain formulas and can be deleted if you need to add specific details. Imagine that for session number 1, we want to program 4 exercises, as seen on the screen: quadriceps, chest, wide back, and glutes. With the exercises shown, we recommend hiding the rows you won't be using for better visualization, both for you and your clients. To do this, simply select them, right-click, and hide. On the right side, you will enter the effective sets to be completed. For example, for the pendular squat, I want my client to do 2 effective sets. In this case, I will enter 2 in the corresponding cells. As you can see at the bottom, the total number of sets for the session is starting to count. Once all the sets are entered, we have the entire program complete. Remember to leave all the sections that your client needs to fill out empty. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, in the explanation of the base variables, on the right side, we have the checklist column, where all potential issues that may arise when executing an exercise can be viewed. If you want to add or edit these values, you can do so in the base of variables. Finally, in the lower right, we have the RP box that your clients will need to fill out based on the values you've edited. This box tracks according to the values they've entered. This would be an example of our first microcycle, already programmed for the 3 full-body sessions. To program the following microcycles, coaches usually copy M1 and move it to M2, making the necessary modifications. We recommend first copying the content from the upper table and pasting it into M2's table to copy all sessions without interrupting the formulas within the sheets. We recommend only selecting the session box. Likewise, several sessions can be copied at once. For the panel explanation, we assume we have programmed from microcycle 1 to microcycle 4. In this case, in all programmed exercises, we haven't considered the deltoids, abs, calves, tibialis, or forearms. Therefore, no values are shown in the table. In this table, we can view the total values per microcycle and muscle group for 3 important variables: effective sets, stress index, and effective repetitions. We can change these variables in cell A1, and they will update automatically. In the full-body cycle example, we didn't include deltoids, ABs, calves, tibialis, or forearms in the programming, so no values are shown. In the first row, the total sum of all stress index values is displayed, in this case, for all muscle groups. It's the same for effective sets and effective repetitions. The values update automatically, as mentioned previously, and are also detailed in the manual provided with the template. These values are influenced by the values in the base of variables, specifically in the intensity table and the difficulty table. The secondary muscle group factor is also included in the sum. When calculating these values, 3 key points must be considered: the edited values in the intensity table, the difficulty values assigned to each programmed exercise, and the secondary muscle group factor if your exercises include them. This applies to effective sets, stress index, and effective repetitions. If there are edits to later microcycles, they will update in this table. At the bottom of the table, there are blank cells. These are for adding additional muscle groups that will automatically update in this section. On the right, there is a section for updates or notes, where you can add relevant details for each microcycle. Finally, in the last section, monitoring, you can see how the routine is progressing based on the tracking your clients are doing. If your clients haven't filled out certain sections, some cells may show no data. As a general explanation, all pre-training variables can be viewed at the top, from prior activity to recovery, by microcycle. Finally, the RPE for the session, which is the post-training value, is displayed. Next, the columns will display the exercises with their details, the indicator being tracked, and in the table, the corresponding value for each variable will appear. For the microcycle column, we don't have a progression value because there is no historical data to compare with this tracking. Therefore, the progression starts being shown from microcycle number 2 onwards. If you want to review another session, you can modify it in the left-hand column, and it will update automatically. In this case, we have 3 sessions per week. For example, if we want to conduct a deeper analysis in session number 1, your client has already completed the 4 program microcycles. At the top, you can see all pre- and post-training variables, and below, you can view the details for tonnage and progression. It's important to note that progression values account for the total of all executed sets. For example, in the case of the pendular squat in microcycle number 3, your client recorded less load but increased their total repetitions by 7, counting the 2 sets programmed. For a deeper look per set, click the plus sign next to each exercise, and the details for each effective set will be displayed in this case for the pendular squat. In microcycle number 3, the load was matched in the first set, and 4 more repetitions were added. In the second set, the load was decreased, and 3 more repetitions were added. This is repeated for all exercises. Regarding the colors, we have considered 6 variations. Dark green indicates progression in both load and repetitions. Light green indicates that one variable increased while the other remained the same. In this case, there is more load, but repetitions remain the same. As can be seen in the row in microcycle 2, the load remained the same, but there were more repetitions. Bright yellow indicates a complete maintenance of progression, meaning both load and repetitions are equal. Light yellow is considered a potential performance increase. This means one variable decreased and the other increased. In this case, there is less load but more repetitions. Or as in the case of the dumbbell bench, there is more load but fewer repetitions. It's important to interpret the light yellow color based on the data your athlete has recorded. For the red patterns, we consider dark red as a complete regression. This means that both variables show lower results, less load, and fewer repetitions. For light red, we've considered the opposite of light green. This means that one variable has regressed, while the other has remained the same. In this case, the load stayed the same, but repetitions decreased. Light red also appears if the load has decreased, but repetition stayed the same. Finally, it's important to clarify that the exercises shown in this table are updated according to the most recent programming. This means that if I change the order of exercises in microcycle number 5, it will update according to that sheet. Let's do an example. We've programmed session number 1 of microcycle number 5. The values aren't filled in yet. Since the values aren't filled in yet, the monitoring sheet shows that data is missing. If I want to place the dumbbell bench first and then the pendular squat, the order will change in the monitoring tab. That's essentially the whole explanation of the template. In each sheet, like the panel and the corresponding bases, we've included details for you to keep in mind. Also, don't forget to thoroughly review the manual provided along with the template.